The cold iron bars of the dog cage pierced my skin, icy and biting, just like the hearts of the 4 men who had held me in the palm of their hands for 16 years. My name is Su Mianmian. For 16 years, I was the most precious treasure in the entire upper circle of Yunqing. I have 4 fathers standing at the top of the city's power pyramid. The first dad, Lu Tingzhou, is the cold and ruthless financial tycoon who controls half of the city's capital flow. He used to say that all his billions of assets were just my pocket money, and he would never let me suffer any grievance in my life. The second dad, Jiang Sai, is the domineering military and political magnate who holds real power. He spoiled me to the point of lawlessness, daring to suppress the entire upper circle for my trivial temper tantrum. The third dad, Shen Yan, is the top medical god with hands that can save lives. He used to tailor exclusive health plans for me every day, fearing that I would catch a cold or get hurt even a little. The fourth dad, Qi Mu, is the unparalleled entertainment king who controls the entire domestic entertainment industry. He spoiled me willfully, buying all the luxury jewelry and limited editions in the world just to make me smile. For peak men, for unparalleled powers. They doted on me for 16 full years, making me the most enviable little princess in the entire country. Everyone said I was born with a golden spoon in my mouth, favored by heaven, with a life of endless glory and luxury. But no one knew that all this glory was given to me by my mother, Su Wan. My mother is a legendary strategy heroine who once dominated the entire elite circle. She easily captured the hearts of these 4 proud and arrogant top men, laid down a 16-year stable and luxurious life for me, and then left quietly, leaving only a sentence. These 4 men will protect you for 16 years, but their favor is fragile and illusory. Once the white moonlight returns, all doting will turn to bone-piercing malice. I didn't understand her warning for 16 years. I indulged in the endless doting of my forefathers, thinking that my family affection was unbreakable and my glory was eternal. Until half a month ago, when you came back. She is the so-called white moonlight daughter of the forefathers, the illegitimate daughter they have hidden for many years, the substitute they have always felt guilty for. Wenya is weak, delicate, good at pretending to be wronged, and extremely scheming. As soon as she returned to the forefather site, she kept pouring out false grievances, fabricating all kinds of lies to slander me, saying that I bullied her, abused her, and deliberately robbed her of everything that belonged to her. The ridiculous thing is that the forefathers who doted on me for 16 years believed all her one-sided words without a single doubt. Overnight, 16 years of deep doting vanished without a trace. All their tenderness turned to ice-cold hatred and crazy punishment for me. Lu Tingzhou withdrew all my property and froze all my bank cards, leaving me with no penny to my name. Jiang Sai revoked all my privileges, let the entire upper circle block me, and made me a joke that everyone shouted and beaten. Shen Yan took back all my exclusive medical protection, and even deliberately stopped my daily medicine, letting my old minor illnesses torture me day and night. Qi Mu completely cut off all my social resources, erased all my glorious resumes, and made me a worthless, abandoned girl overnight. I explained, I cried, I begged them to trust me, to remember the 16 years of affection between us. But they were all indifferent. Su Mianmian, you are spoiled and arrogant, vicious and cruel. How can you be half as sensible and kind as Wenya? Wenya has suffered for so many years, and it's only right that you make up for her. From today on, all the glory you have enjoyed belongs to Wenya. You are just an outsider who occupies her identity. Every cold word was like a sharp knife, piercing straight into my heart, cutting all my obsession with family affection to pieces. 3 days ago, when you framed me for pushing her down the stairs and causing her to miscarry her unborn child. Without any investigation, without giving me any chance to defend myself, the forefathers flew into a rage. They personally locked me in the large iron dog cage in the backyard of the Lu family's villa, the cage that was used to raise fierce guard dogs all year round, dirty, damp, and full of blood and dirt. Stay here and reflect on your sins until you repent thoroughly. No food, no water. Let you taste the pain of suffering and let you know how wrong you are. They left ruthlessly, leaving me alone in the dark and cold dog cage, suffering from hunger, cold, and grievance. For 3 whole days and 3 nights, no one cared about me. No one came to see me. The cold wind penetrated the iron cage and blew on my thin body, and my lips were dry and cracked from hunger and thirst. My whole body was weak, and my vision was blurred. I was on the verge of death, lingering on my last breath. I lay on the cold, dirty ground of the dog cage, my body suffering from extreme pain, and my heart was colder than the icy ground. 16 years of doting, in exchange for a 3-day dog cage imprisonment and near-death torture. What false family affection? What eternal favor? It's all a ridiculous illusion. Just when my consciousness was about to completely dissipate and I was waiting for death to come, a gentle, familiar voice suddenly sounded in my mind, clear and warm, sweeping away all the cold despair in my heart. Mianmian, my poor child. It's my mother's voice. The voice that I haven't heard for many years, the only warm and real existence in my life. My trembling eyes suddenly lit up, and I tried my best to open my dry and heavy eyelids, murmuring weakly, Mom, is that you? The gentle voice sounded again, with endless heartache and cold, killing intent. It's me, baby. These four foolish men and that vicious, white moonlight illegitimate daughter have wronged you enough. Do you want to leave this hellish place? Do you want to come back to my side? In the extreme despair of being on the verge of death, I didn't hesitate for a second. Tears rushed out of my eyes, mixed with the dirt on my face, and I answered firmly and hoarsely. I want to, Mom. I want to go back to you. I don't want these dads anymore. I don't want their false favor at all. The moment the voice fell, a warm light suddenly wrapped my whole body. The cold iron cage that trapped me instantly turned into dust and dissipated. The hunger, cold, and pain that tortured me for 3 days disappeared without a trace in an instant. My tattered and dirty clothes were instantly replaced by a clean and soft white dress. My dry and cracked skin recovered delicate and smooth, and my weak body was filled with powerful vitality in an instant. I stood up slowly from the ground, from a dying abandoned wretch to a clean and bright young girl in the blink of an eye. A vast and powerful golden light door opened slowly in front of me. My mother's gentle voice came from behind the light door, with supreme power and endless pampering. Come on, Mian. From today on, you will no longer be bound by these trivial worldly affections. I will give you a supreme life that those foolish people can never touch in their lifetime. I took a deep breath, completely abandoned the 16 years of obsession and the ridiculous so-called family affection, and stepped firmly into the light door. Behind me, the empty Liu family backyard was dead silent. The four top men who just came back to watch me suffer and repent stood frozen in place, their eyes full of unprecedented shock and panic. They watched the girl they had abandoned and tortured disappear completely in the golden light, and for the first time in their lives, they felt the fear of losing everything. Chapter 1 First Explosion. Vanish in public for Scum Dad's first panic collapse. The four top men stood side by side at the entrance of the backyard villa, their noble and calm faces completely cracked at this moment. Lu Tingzhou, who has always been cold and calm, stared at the empty dog cage, his deep eyes filled with unbelievable shock, and his knuckles turned white from extreme tension. Just 3 seconds ago, he clearly saw Su Mianmian lying dying in the cage, her breath weak, on the verge of death. But in the blink of an eye, the girl who was tortured to the brink of death was completely gone. The dirty and damp iron cage turned into flying ash out of thin air, without any residue left. The traces of the girl's suffering and survival disappeared completely, as if she had never been imprisoned here, never existed in this world. What's going on? Jiang Sai's voice was low and trembling, his domineering aura completely collapsed, and his eyes were full of frantic unease. As a powerful figure who has controlled power for many years, he has never experienced such a strange and terrifying scene. People can't disappear out of thin air in a closed villa backyard guarded by layers of bodyguards and surveillance. Shan Yan stepped forward quickly, his face extremely ugly. He carefully checked the surrounding ground, detected the residual warm golden energy, and his medical pupils shrank sharply. This is not any ordinary disappearance. There is an unknown powerful force covering this place, completely erasing Mianmian's traces of existence. Qi Mu's usual playful and indifferent expression disappeared completely. He paced back and forth anxiously, his heart flustered and terrified. Impossible. All the surveillance equipment here is the most advanced in the world, and the bodyguards are all top elites. How could she disappear without a sound? The four men who had always been arrogant and omnipotent fell into unprecedented panic at the same time. For 16 years, Su Mianmian was their habit, their obsession, their most cherished existence. Even though they were blinded by Wenya's lies and punished Su Mianmian cruelly, deep in their subconscious, they never thought of really losing her forever. They thought that after enough torture, Su Mianmian would bow her head and repent, be obedient and docile, and then they would take her back and continue their doting. They thought they were the masters of this relationship, able to control all gains and losses. But the sudden disappearance completely broke all their delusions. At this moment, Wenya walked over weakly leaning on the servant's arm, her eyes red and swollen, her face pale and delicate, with a pitiful and aggrieved appearance. She looked at the empty backyard. A trace of triumphant malice flashed in her eyes quickly, and then she pretended to be flustered and worried. Four dads. Where is Mianmian's sister? Did she run away? It's all my fault. If I hadn't been wronged, my sister wouldn't have been angry and left. I'm so useless. She lowered her head and sobbed softly, deliberately guiding the four men's thoughts, trying to make them think that I was willful and angry and ran away on my own. But this time, the four men who had always been easily fooled by her pretense did not comfort her, as usual. Instead, they all turned their cold and gloomy eyes to her, with unprecedented coldness and suspicion in their eyes. Just now, the moment Su Mianmian disappeared, they vaguely heard a gentle and powerful female voice, a voice that was extremely familiar and made their hearts tremble involuntarily. It's Su Wan's voice. The woman who easily controlled their hearts 16 years ago, the mysterious and powerful woman who left after arranging everything for Su Mianmian. Lu Tingzhou's eyes were cold and sharp, staring straight at Wenya, and his voice was cold to the bone. Shut up. A simple sentence made Wenya's body tremble violently, and her fake crying stopped instantly. She looked at the four dads who suddenly turned cold towards her in disbelief, and her heart was full of unease. Why? Clearly a few hours ago, they were still distressed by her grievance and hated Su Mianmian extremely. Why did their attitude change drastically in just a moment? No one answered her question. The four men had no time to pay attention to her hypocritical pretense. Their minds were full of the figure of Su Mianmian disappearing in the golden light and the familiar voice of Su Wan. A terrible premonition rose in their hearts. They seemed to have missed and lost the most precious person in their life forever. Hashtag Chapter 2 Second Explosion. Supreme Mother's Identity Exposure. Crash all scum's pride. On the other side, I stepped through the golden light door and arrived at a world completely different from the secular upper-class circle. This is a vast and magnificent independent manor suspended above the clouds, with endless fairy mist lingering, precious flowers and plants blooming everywhere, and golden divine light flowing all the time. The luxury of the four dads' villas in the secular world is just vulgar mortal prosperity in front of this supreme manor. A graceful and elegant woman stood in the center of the manor, her whole body covered with gentle and noble light, her face peerless, her temperament transcendent, standing above all trivial worldly prosperity. It's my mother, Su Wan. I haven't seen her for many years, but she is still as young and beautiful as I remember, even more noble and powerful. She turned around, looked at me with gentle eyes, stretched out her white and slender hands, and held me tightly in her arms. The warm and real embrace completely dispelled the cold and shadow of the dog cage torture in my heart. My Mian Mian, you've suffered. Mother's voice was soft, but there was endless cold killing intent hidden in it. I left you in the secular world for 16 years, just to let you experience the warmth and coldness of human feelings, see through the falseness of those men's hearts, and completely cut off your obsession with secular family affection. I knew they would be blinded by the fake white moonlight, but I didn't expect them to be so cruel and foolish as to lock you in a dog cage. I nestled in my mother's warm arms, tears rolling down my eyes, but my heart was completely liberated and relaxed. Mom, I don't feel wronged anymore. I don't like them anymore. Their 16 years of doting are fake, and their recent cruelty is real. I don't want any of their glory and affection. Mother rubbed my hair gently, her eyes full of doting and pity. Silly child, those four men's so-called peak status and secular power are just the trivial chess pieces I casually arranged back then. All their wealth, status, and power were given by me to protect you. Now that they hurt you only, they are no longer qualified to enjoy the power I bestowed. My eyes widened suddenly, full of shock. It turns out that the four top dads who stand at the top of the secular world and control countless people's fates are just chess pieces carefully arranged by my mother. All their glory, wealth, and power are all derived from my mother's gift. They rely on my mother's strategy and layout to climb to the peak of life, but they hurt my mother's only daughter in return. This is the most ridiculous and ironic thing in the world. Mother saw my shock and smiled faintly, her tone casual and supreme. I am the core controller of the supreme strategy realm. The secular upper circle you lived in is just a small experimental field under my control. Back then, I took a fancy to the four men's excellent physical and mental qualities and deliberately approached them, let them fall in love with me, and gave them huge resources and luck, just to let them become your bodyguards and provide you with 16 years of stable and prosperous life. I knew their human nature is shallow and greedy, and their affection is fragile. The so-called doting is only based on your identity as my daughter and the huge luck bonus I blessed on you. Once the fake white moonlight disturbs the situation, their shaky affection will collapse instantly. I let you stay there for 16 years to let you grow up and see the world clearly. Now that you have suffered the ultimate betrayal and despair, completely cut off your obsession, it's time to come back to my real world and accept your supreme identity. Mother waved her hand gently, and a huge, luxurious jade mirror appeared in front of me, reflecting my brand new identity. I am the only supreme daughter of the strategy realm's master, born with supreme luck, noble bloodline, and a life that transcends all secular beings. The so-called four-peak elite dads, the so-called upper-class glory, are all insignificant trivial attachments in my real life. When Ya's so-called white moonlight substitute identity is just a ridiculous fake that my mother deliberately arranged to test the four men's hearts. Everything is my mother's layout. All the betrayal and suffering I experienced are the tempering for my supreme rebirth. My heart was completely shocked, and then filled with unprecedented joy and firmness. I raised my head, my eyes bright and firm, and said to my mother, "Mom, I am willing to accept my new life. From today on, Su Mianmian has nothing to do with those four secular men. I only have you as my only family." A satisfied smile appeared on my mother's face, and she nodded gently. "Good boy. Next, Mother will let you watch the karmic retribution of those foolish people who hurt you." Hashtag Chapter 3 Third Explosion. Instant power collapse, for scum dads fall from peak. At the same time, in the secular Liu family villa, the four men were still frantically searching for my trace, mobilizing all the city's surveillance, all their private forces, and all industry resources, trying to find the disappeared me. But no matter how they searched, there was no trace of me in the whole city, as if I had never existed. Munya stood aside, pretending to be worried, but her eyes were full of hidden joy. In her opinion, Su Mianmian must have run away in anger after being wronged. Without Su Mianmian, she would be the only daughter by the four dads' side, the sole heir of all their wealth and power. She endured the joy in her heart and walked forward gently, trying to hold Lu Tingzhou's arm. "Dad, don't worry too much. Mianmian's sister is just willful. She will come back after venting her anger. I will wait for her here. Before her hand touched Lu Tingzhou's sleeve, a sudden and terrifying disaster fell on the four men. Boom. A huge invisible pressure swept the entire villa in an instant. Lu Tingzhou's mobile phone suddenly exploded, and all the stock markets and capital groups under his name collapsed in an instant. The billions of capital industries that he had worked hard for decades were cleared and liquidated in a second, and he went from a financial tycoon to a penniless pauper. Jiang Sai's private power was completely stripped, all his official positions were dismissed, all his connections were broken, and he lost all his real power overnight, becoming an ordinary person with no status. Shen Yan's medical reputation was completely ruined. All his medical patents and honorary titles were revoked. All his hospitals were forcibly closed. His hands that can save lives were suddenly infected with strange diseases, losing all medical skills. Shimu's entire entertainment industry territory collapsed. All artists terminated their contracts, all projects stopped, all luxury properties were sealed up, and he completely disappeared from the entertainment circle. In just 10 seconds. The four peak men who stood at the top of Yinqing's power and wealth pyramid fell from the peak to the bottom of the valley completely. All glory vanished, all power dissipated, all wealth cleared. The four men froze in place at the same time, their faces pale and terrified, completely unable to accept this sudden disaster. What's happening? My industry. My capital. Lu Tingzhou's voice was hoarse and desperate, his cold and proud demeanor completely broken. My power. All my power is gone. Jiang Sai panted heavily, his domineering body trembling violently. My medical career. It's all over. Shen Yan's eyes were empty, and he lost all his vitality in an instant. Everything is gone. All gone. Shimu slumped on the ground, completely desperate. They have dominated the upper circle for decades, and have always controlled the fate of others. They have never thought that one day, their own fate would be completely destroyed in an instant, without any warning or resistance. At this moment, a cold and indifferent system prompt sounded in the minds of the four men at the same time. Warning! The temporary resource blessing given by Lord Su, one has been officially revoked. The four executors Lu Tingzhou, Jiang Sai, Shen Yan, Qi Mu have violated the protection contract, hurt the protected object Su Mianmian, and all authorized privileges are permanently withdrawn. From today on, all glory and luck will be cleared, and lifelong karmic retribution will be born. The moment the prompt sounded, the four men's brains buzzed, and everything was completely clear. It's Su Wan. All their wealth, power, status, and luck were all given by Su Wan back then. Su Wan left them 16 years of supreme glory just to let them protect Su Mianmian. But they were foolishly blinded by Wenya's lies, hurt Su Mianmian cruelly, and violated the core contract. So Su Wan took back all the gifts overnight, completely destroying their decades of foundation. They lost everything. All because they abandoned and hurt the little girl who loved them sincerely for 16 years. Extreme regret and pain swept their hearts in an instant, drowning them completely. They looked at each other and saw the deepest despair and remorse in each other's eyes. They had the most precious treasure in the world, but they abandoned it with their own hands. They enjoyed the supreme glory given by Su Wan, but they hurt Su Wan's only daughter. This is their doomed retribution. Chapter 4 Fourth Explosion. White Moonlight's false identity exposed, public humiliation, and complete ruin. While the four men were falling into endless remorse and despair, Wenya, who was standing aside, was still ignorant of the disaster and continued to pretend to be aggrieved and sympathetic. She saw the four dads' decadent and desperate appearance and thought they were just sad because of her disappearance. She even felt proud and complacent in her heart. She walked forward again, trying to comfort the four men and take the opportunity to completely occupy their hearts. For dads, don't be sad. Although Mianmian's sister is gone, I will always be with you, that I will be obedient and sensible, and I will never make you angry. I will replace my sister to be your good daughter. Her voice was soft and sweet, full of deliberate flattery and hypocrisy. But this time, the four men only felt extremely disgusting. All the confusion and blindness in their eyes disappeared completely. The 16 years of doting on Su Mianmian, the various lies of Wenya, and the cruel things they did to Su Mianmian all emerged in their minds clearly. They finally woke up completely. All the so-called grievances of Wenya are fake. All the injuries and losses are all directed and acted by herself. She is the real vicious and scheming person. And their Su Mianmian, their little princess who has been obedient and sincere to them for 16 years, was completely wronged. All the cruelty and torture they imposed on Su Mianmian were all wrong. Lu Tingzhou suddenly raised his head, his eyes full of bloodthirsty coldness, staring at Wenya, his voice hoarse and furious. All the lies are you, right? You framed Mianmian. You deceived us. You made us hurt our own daughter. Wenya's face changed drastically in an instant, and her fake gentle expression completely collapsed. She stepped back in panic, shaking her head repeatedly. No, it's not me. Dad, you wronged me. I have always been sincere to you. It's Su Mianmian who is vicious and arrogant. Still lying. Jiang Sai roared angrily, his whole body full of violent anger that he had never had before. At this moment, a huge virtual screen suddenly appeared in the sky above the villa, covering the entire upper circle's live broadcast channel. All the citizens of Yunqing, all the upper-class celebrities, all the industry elites are watching this live broadcast in real time. On the screen, all the real monitoring videos and chat records of Wenya's framing me are played in full screen without any omission. The video clearly records how Wenya secretly hurt herself, how she deliberately fell down the stairs to frame me from a scarage, how she fabricated lies to slander my character, how she pretended to be weak and wronged to fool the four dads. Every frame of the picture is clear and shocking, completely exposing Wenya's ugly and vicious true face to the public. At the same time, my mother's supreme voice sounded in the live broadcast room, cold and majestic, resounding throughout the city. Wenya, adopted fake orphan, no blood relationship with any of the four men. All your white moonlight identities, all your substitute qualifications are all false layouts. You deliberately take advantage of the four men's guilt to scheme for wealth and status, frame innocent people, and hurt my daughter. From today on, your reputation is completely ruined, and you will be permanently banned from all upper-class circles and formal industries. Boom. The whole city was in an uproar. All the upper-class celebrities were shocked beyond belief. The so-called poor and wronged white moonlight daughter is actually a scheming liar who swindles wealth and status. The four peak dads who doted on her were actually fooled around by a fake orphan. And the Su Mian who is scolded and wronged by the whole circle is the real noble little princess protected by the supreme power. Wenya stared at the live broadcast screen in despair, her whole body trembling violently, and collapsed on the ground with a thud. Her carefully maintained gentle, kind, and weak persona was completely shattered. All her reputations, all her popularity, all her future possibilities were completely destroyed in an instant. She lost all the glory she had just obtained and became a street rat that everyone shouted and beaten. No, I'm not fake. I'm the real daughter. Su Mian is the outsider. Wenya screamed hysterically, completely crazy. But no one believed her anymore. The four men looked at her crazy and ugly appearance, and the regret in their hearts was almost overflowing. They were so blind and stupid that they abandoned their sincere and lovely biological daughter for such a vicious and fake liar, and even tortured their own daughter in a dog cage. They are the most foolish and ridiculous people in the world. Hashtag Chapter 5 Fifth Explosion. Regret capital punishment, for scum dads beg for forgiveness in vain. After exposing Wenya's true face, my mother did not stop the retribution. The virtual screen in the sky continued to play all the cruel things the four men did to me in the past half month. The video records every detail of them freezing my property, revoking my privileges, blocking my reputation, and finally locking me in a dirty dog cage and letting me starve to death. Every picture is piercing and heartbreaking. The whole city was silent, and countless netizens were filled with anger and pity. My God, these four dads are too cold-blooded and cruel. 16 years of doting. How can they turn their faces and hurt people so cruelly? The little princess is so pitiful. She has been sincere to them for 16 years, but she ended up being imprisoned in a dog cage and starved to death. These four men are ungrateful villains. They rely on the little princess's mother to get glory and wealth, but they hurt others' daughters. They deserve to lose everything. Wenya is a vicious white lotus. She ruined a family of 3 generations by herself. It's too hateful. Countless abusive comments flooded the entire network, completely drowning the four men and Wenya. The four men stood in the empty backyard, bearing the endless abuse and condemnation of the whole city, and their hearts were pierced by endless regret and pain. They lost their wealth, power, status, and reputation overnight, and became the most shameful sinners in the city. But they don't care about these losses at all. What they regret most is losing me, hurting me, and ruining the 16 years of sincere affection between us. Lu Tingzhou knelt heavily on the cold ground, his tall and straight figure completely collapsed, and tears of regret rolled down his cold face. Mingyan, Dad is wrong. Dad knows wrong. Come back quickly, okay? Dad is willing to give up everything, as long as you can come back. Zhang Sai, who has always been domineering and unyielding, also knelt down in pain, his voice hoarse and desperate. Mian, forgive Dad. Dad was blind. Dad was stupid. Don't leave us alone. Shen Yan and Shimu also knelt on the ground one after another, their eyes full of broken regret and endless longing. They used to hold me in the palm of their hands and spoil me infinitely. They knew all my preferences and all my little temper. They once said that they would protect me for a lifetime, love me for a lifetime, and never let me suffer any grievance. But in the end, they personally pushed me into the abyss of hell. They personally destroyed the most precious treasure in their life. Mian, come back. We will never listen to others' slander again. We will only spoil you alone for the rest of our lives. We are willing to atone for our sins, accept all punishments, and give everything we have. Just ask you to come back. The 4 peak men knelt on the ground in unison, begging bitterly, humble and desperate, completely abandoning all their dignity and pride. But there was no response in the empty backyard. The little girl who once loved them wholeheartedly, acted coquettishly and relied on them, had completely abandoned them and left forever. In the supreme cloud manner, I watched their humble and desperate begging through the light screen, and my heart was completely calm, without any fluctuation. I no longer have love, hate, or obsession with them. When they locked me in the dog cage and let me starve to death, all my affection for them was completely exhausted. Their regret is their own sin. And their despair is their own retribution, which has nothing to do with me. Mother stood beside me, holding my shoulder gently, and said softly, Mian Mian, do you want to forgive them? As long as you nod, Mother can restore all their glory at any time. I shook my head firmly, my eyes clear and cold. No need, Mom. False affection is not worth redemption. Their regret can't make up for the pain I suffered in the dog cage, nor can it restore the broken 16 years of my sincerity. From today on, they are just strangers to me, strangers who have nothing to do with my life. A satisfied smile appeared on Mother's face. Good child, you have really grown up completely. Hashtag Chapter 6 Explosion, Supreme Identity Awakening, Full Life Transcendence. After completely cutting off the secular obsession, my supreme bloodline was completely awakened. Under the Mother's guidance, I officially accepted my supreme identity as the only daughter of the Strategy Realm's master. All the trivial secular dust was stripped from my body, and my whole person became more bright, noble, and transcendent. My mother gave me countless supreme talents and noble privileges. I have the ability to see through all falsehoods, control all luck, and reverse all fates. The so-called upper-class glory that I once envied and relied on is just a trivial dust under my supreme life. In the following days, I stayed in the cloud manor, learning supreme strategy skills and noble realm knowledge with my mother every day. My vision, pattern, and ability improved rapidly, completely getting rid of the shallow secular cognition. I no longer care about the trivial grievances and hatreds of the secular world, nor do I pay attention to the final fate of the four scum dads and Wunya. But the karmic retribution arranged by my mother will never be absent. The four men who lost all their glory fell to the bottom of society completely. They were spurned and abused by the whole city every day, living in endless regret and pain. They used to live in luxury villas and wear luxury clothes, but now they can only live in dilapidated small houses, struggling to survive, suffering from the most trivial sufferings of life every day. They spend every day recalling the days when they spoiled me, falling into endless self-torture and remorse, and can never get relief for a lifetime. This is the eternal punishment for betraying their sincere affection and hurting the innocent. As for Wunya, she was completely ruined and bankrupt. She was abandoned by everyone, suffered from online violence and real-life exclusion, and finally could only linger on in the most humble corner of the city, suffering from the evil consequences she planted by herself. All the evil people have their own retribution, and all the false glory has faded away. And I, from a wronged and abandoned secular little princess, was reborn in despair, cut off all false family affection, and descended to the supreme realm with my mother. I have the most powerful backing in the world, the most noble identity, and the most unlimited future. I finally understand that the real eternal glory never comes from the doting of others, but from my own supreme identity and unyielding rebirth. The 16 years of false warmth is just a trivial episode in my life. The real splendid life has just officially opened its curtain for me. No more betrayal, no more grievance, no more abandonment. From the dog cage of despair to the supreme cloud manor, I completed the most gorgeous and thorough rebirth in the world. The abandoned daughter of the secular elite circle has long died in the cold dog cage. From today on, only the supreme strategy young lady who overlooks all worldly prosperity is alive.